Today I'm going to be reviewing my Bafang BBSDH on my 2016 Fuji Absolute 1.3. So just a brief overview of the bike. Flat handlebars, came with hydraulic brakes. These aren't the original hydraulic brakes. It had Tektro, but I ended up replacing them. The value of replacing the Tektro with the SLX was nearly 1-to-1 cost dollar, so I just went with the SLX. One of the reasons I like these brakes is because if anything goes wrong with either the caliper or the lever itself, you can replace those independently. The Tektro or Riga brakes that came with it, you had to buy the full kit, and I didn't like that, so one of the reasons why I just went with this. 28C tires on these, and it had a 2x9. Obviously the thing got rid of that, so I got the kit shipped from China for $991. A lot of people have recommended getting the Lecky Bling Ring for this product due to chain dropping. I have put, let's see how many miles, a little on switch. Let's see how many miles I put on this. Not too many, actually. I put 131 miles on it. Check this out. Top speed, 38.2 is what I've gotten up to so far. So, for those of you that want to know the top speed, there you go. Now, this has a 46 tooth that comes stock, the chain ring, and then the rear cassette is an 11x32, I believe. 11x32 9-speed. So, with a slight downhill, no wind, straight away on the road, I got up to 38.2 miles per hour, but usually I hover around 28 to 30 miles an hour is pretty consistent with this kit. One of the things to think about when you're looking at kits and the top speed is if you get a bike that's got a top speed of 28 miles an hour, you're not going to be able to just hit 28 miles an hour whenever you want. That's like ideal conditions. So some people have been able to get these kits up to 40 miles an hour, but that's like ideal. So if you get a kit that's 28 miles per hour, you're not going to hit 28. You'll hit like 20 or 22 consistently. So that's the nice thing about this kit is it gets up there. I'm going to flip the bike around so we can check out the other side. It has a charging port. For some reason, when it came from the factory, that charging port looks a little beat up. I don't know what happened to it, like a little mouse ate it or something. But right now, the battery's locked in. It has two, it's bolted on with two of the bottle mount screws. Here's the key, comes with the key. So we can go ahead and take this off. So it's mounted on there with two. The nice thing is you see it's got 4 slots. I'm going to actually have someone locally drill 2 more bottle mount holds. So I'll have 4 mounts on this. I noticed that it rattles. It rattles a little bit. There's some space in there because it's not mounted. It's only mounted in the middle. So that rattles a little bit, and that's probably my biggest complaint so far, is that it rattles. I haven't had any problems with chain drop. I dropped the chain once when I wasn't pedaling, and I went over this really rooty, bumpy section, curvy section in on a sidewalk, had some roots and stuff. But other than that, I've gone over other potholes, other root sections, while pedaling and not pedaling, and haven't had any issues with the chain drop. I haven't had any issues with the shifting. I did install this gear shifter sensor, which I highly recommend. This actually, you see it has a little mount there. this was open. Most derailleur setups, rear derailleurs, have the exposed cable in the back. I got rid of that because the cable is actually routed internally. It goes up through the frame, and so the cable that comes with the shift sensor isn't long enough to really run it from the handlebars, and I didn't want any more cables going up to the handlebars. So to mount that up along this rear section, it would have to either go up in here somewhere. I had it mounted originally right here, but I didn't quite like it. It's not real flush right here, so I just didn't care for it. I'm kind of OCD about that, so I went ahead and just switched it right out. I may at some point, if I don't have any issues with this setup, which I haven't so far, I may go ahead and drill out that little cable stop and just route the cable right through it and use it like that. So let's go ahead and flip this bike around. I'll show you the wiring in the other side. Here's the other side of the bike. We'll go over the wiring here in a minute. I do want to comment on most of the people that buy these kits either use it for one of two purposes. They either get it for mountain biking or they get it for commuting. So in terms of commuting, I wouldn't go any smaller than the 46 tooth it comes with. I'm finding now that I can easily top out in the 11 and the 12 cassette in the rear on the flats, no problem, you know, for the open straights. So I wouldn't recommend. I actually, if I were to get a different chain ring, a Lucky Bling ring or the Lunicycles ring, I would actually go with either I might even go with a 48 or probably a 48 tooth. I haven't taken this on too many big hills, like windy mountainous hills. I would imagine that the current setup now, unless for some reason you really wanted to go above 40 miles an hour on this, which for here in Oregon, you know, if you were in California and it was super flat and you wanted to go for top speed, you know, you could switch to a 50 tooth and maybe get out, you know, squeak out 40 or 42 miles an hour on this thing, but you're really booking it at that speed. And for nighttime riding and some of the potholes and things in the area, I wouldn't recommend even at 25 to 30 miles an hour, this thing can get a little squirrely. So in terms of a good combination of hill climbing and top speed on the flats, the 46 with the 11 cassette in the rear is perfect. I wouldn't, you know, and then if you're doing more mountain climbing, you can definitely go smaller up front. So here's the SLX. This is the gear speed sensor. This was honestly the hardest thing to install because I don't have a lot of space between my rear seat stay and the spokes, and so the sensor that connects, it's a little magnet, it just lets the unit know how fast you're going, was either rubbing or it was too far away. So I ended up mounting it below, and I ran that cable along with the brake cable. Brake cable goes up in here, and this, and then the other, let's see if we can, I don't know if you guys can see that too well, but both of those cables come up. Here's the rear derailleur that goes up into the frame, and this is the rear hydraulic that follows along the bottom tube. There's also a slot. I think there's an open slot or something down there. I don't know. There's another open area. I think I could maybe run some internal wiring, but the thing is, these ports and stuff are so big, they can't fit through these holes. So unless you have a frame specific for internal routing for e-bikes, most of these wires are not going to fit well inside the frame. But I did a pretty good job. So what I did was, these wires coming out of the Bafang down here, I used heat shrink. I heat shrunk them all together. Then I zip tied them around the seat tube. The gear sensor I ran along the bottom, comes up through here, up along here, and then I just put a little dielectric grease inside here, ran a little electrical tape, and then it just kind of doubles back on itself and goes down here. This right here is the main power source. Actually, it's not the power source. This here connects the battery to the motor, so it comes up here. It's really long. Here's the cable. This is all heat shrink. Now this is like an Anderson power pole connector or something like that. I don't know how watertight it is, so I went ahead and heat shrunk it. And this is probably the worst part about the kit, because this is so long. I don't know what they're thinking in terms of, like, where are people mounting this battery compared to the motor? Unless you have, like, some kind of, the recumbent bike or an extra cycle. I don't know why you would need 2 or 3 feet of this cable. So I was thinking about shortening it, but this is such a short path that I would end up shorting both the cable for the motor coming in and the cable on the battery side, that if I ever switch bikes on this, I don't want that cable being too short. So I may at some point switch that over, but so far it's not working. You could fiddle with this for hours. That's my only complaint, is that this thing really is too long. But I heat shrunk it just to make sure that it doesn't get any water in it. Come on. So, that's the gear sensor. The speed sensor comes up here and just wraps back down in there. And then this just gets wired up along here. There's the rear derailleur cable coming out. The one issue I've had with this frame is that it rubs. Anything that rubs consistently on the frame will wear it away. So, for example, I had a pannier actually rub away on this. And look at this. Look, look at this rack. I've almost rubbed it until there's nothing left. And that's plastic on metal. What in the world is rubbing on here that's causing that to wear away? And so the same thing happened on the frame. So anyway, in terms of e-bikes that aren't meant to be e-bikes, this is a really clean setup, I think, on the handlebars. I just ran the power cord from the battery, comes up. These two are for your brake sensors, which I don't have. I have hydraulic brakes. The kit came with manual, like mechanical disc brake sensors, V-brake sensors, but I don't have that, so it just has two. One for the throttle, and then one for this unit. This you can control your pedal assist. It's got a little cable that connects to the head unit here, underneath, but this throttle connects directly to the motor, and then these units connect. So I did a little heat shrink on here as well. But a little zip tie, and that's basically it. What I did was I wanted this to look real neat, so I tightened up all these wires, and then the extra stuff sits down here. Now another thing I did here on that main power connection between the motor and the controller is I put a little thing of heat shrink and shrunk that down, so that's going to be really waterproof. So if you guys have any questions on the kit, so far so good. I have a 52 volt 14.5 amp hour battery. Oh,